welcome everybody to this week's World of Tanks subscriber replays. My name as always is Maxwell, and today's first replays from the user MDVN. That's MDVN. He's driving the T110E5, which is the Tier 10 American heavy tank, and he's platooned up with a couple of his clanmates from the DPS clan. So a couple of announcements before we get too far into this video. Apology for the lack of chaffee break yesterday, but if you watched the videos out on Monday, you will have heard that I was feeling particularly under the weather. I've been feeling really ill over the last 6 or 7 days, therefore content has been suffering somewhat. Luckily, the videos I had on Monday I had recorded a few days earlier, but when it came around to the time to record chaffee break, unfortunately it basically wasn't going to happen. I sounded so bad and unenthusiastic that it really would have just been a disservice to actually put that out, because it wasn't a great video and I wasn't in a great place when recording it. Oh, that FVB is pushed up way too far there. FV2 even. It's pushed up way too far there, and just paid the price with that one. Again, next announcement is just want to say congratulations to the thumbnail contest winner. A lot of you did get the question correct, correctly identifying that it was in fact an M6 heavy tank and it was on the Sacred Valley, but there can only be one winner. Only one person got it posted first, and that was Josh Mullen. So congratulations to you for correctly identifying the M6 heavy tank on Sacred Valley. Congratulations to everybody else who got it right as well, but particularly to Josh Mullen. And of course we're going to be continuing the competition through this video as well, just for fun of course. There's no prizes apart from recognition and a little shout out in the following video. So if you can correctly identify the tank and the map from the thumbnail of this video and be the first one to do so, then you'll win yourself a brand spanking new congratulations in our next video. So on to this game. I know it's been going for quite a while. They're just doing the standard tactic of the heavy tanks are going to be pushing up to the town and leaving the tank destroyers to defend the base. But as you can see, the enemy is pushing quite a large contingent down that far right hand flank, so the allies are probably going to have to react to that sooner rather than later. Just finding a mouse here, and even though Tier 10 tanks tend to have fantastic penetration on these cannons, the mouse is still a difficult nut to crack. It's still pretty hard to get around through any point of that mouse. As you can see there, just having a difficult time trying to get through there. Let's see if we can pick out a weak spot. The little flat bit just above the tracks is normally a good place to try and put a round through, but it looks like that's now just destroying the track. So I'm just going to try and get a shot through the flat plate at the front of the turret, just to the left or right of the gun mantlet. That's also quite a good place to try and get a round through. As you can see, already getting a hit there. Not even able to get a shot through that underbelly there. The Allied E100's probably pushed up a little bit too far, doesn't quite have the support of his allies. And as you can see, the enemy has totally overrun the allies on this right-hand flank now. And that's one of the things that always sets apart a good player from a great player, is the ability to keep an eye on that mini-map and know what is going on in the battle and know when is the right time to relocate. Not being able to consistently put rounds through this mouse here, so probably going to have to just abandon this one and try and relocate, which is exactly what he's going to be doing right about now. Just got to be careful because that object was looking down this flank here, so doing the smart thing of just getting out of there while he still can. Probably going to try and flank and relocate. Actually going to be dropping back to the allied base here by the looks of it, in an attempt to try and support the tank destroyers that they've got guarding the base there, because they were overrun pretty successfully on that right hand flank there. Even though the game's pretty even at the moment at just 3 kills to 4, for somehow it looks like the enemy has more tanks on the battlefield. Not quite sure how that one works, but doesn't that always just seem to be the case, that the enemy just always seems to have more tanks than you do? So the enemies were pushing forward, but it looks like the tank destroyers have been able to deal with that situation. So MDVN just going to have a little pause here and realises that those tank destroyers and that IS-7 have probably got the right-hand flank covered now. So just going to be sitting on this hill and trying to spot out who he can coming along the train tracks there. Not sure if anyone's going to be silly enough to actually come across the top of the train tracks. Really should be hugging the other side, as then that will open him up to less shots from a defending allied team. Good hit there on the side of that mouse. So it's sloped armor on the side of the mouse isn't as good as the front or the rear, so that side is really where you want to try and get your shots through. Try not to hit the turret though, because the sloping on the turret's still pretty steep and pretty good at bouncing shots. And even when that mouse is low on health though, you've got to realise it does have a tremendous health pool. So even if it's on a low percentage of health, it still might mean that it has a decent amount of health. As you can see there, still has over 700 hit points. So it's a good hit on that T-32 as he comes up and tries and support his allies. It looks like the mouse isn't long for this world now, as he's getting pounded pretty heavily. And so the MDVN just going to be switching back to the far right-hand flank now and trying to pick off this IS-7. I don't know why he's coming across the train tracks there. Probably wants to try and get some hits on the defenders as he comes in. Unfortunately for him, it does just mean that he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck on top of that bridge as he got tracked. As you can see, his tracks being repaired there, but he should be able to get... Oh, no, not quite able to land another hit on him there. But it looks like everybody's just filing in one at a time rather than waiting for the allies. But they are making a good push on that right-hand flank there. But it looks like the allies have got enough to defend. So MDVN just going to switch his attention to this northern flank here, where the enemy has just absolutely demolished them in this city. Unfortunately, not quite able to offer the support that they needed. But the thing the enemy has to be aware of is they're going to have to make a break across this open field here if they do want to push on any further. And making a break across this open field is going to make them a sitting duck for artillery and the gun here of MD. Just going to be able to pick them off as they come across. Evened up the score nicely here at 9-10. Still losing by 1 kill, but that's nothing particularly great at this point in the game. Fairly even at the moment. Spots out an ST1. Of course, their artillery just camped on that far left-hand flank there, so really just needs to keep him spotted here, and that what is their artillery. It's an E100, so this, is that right? Yeah, GWE 100. There you go, lands a big hit on that ST1, so MD really just needs to keep them spotted here, and, oh, nice shot on that Object 268 there to take him out of the game. Pulled the score ahead now at... 11 kills to 10. You find that these tier 10 games tend to be a lot slower paced, and that's just because, one, there's a lot more on the line. When you're a tier 10 tank, you don't just want to get yourself eliminated early on without doing any damage in return, because these things are very, very expensive to repair and rearm. IS-7 probably should have just stayed flat on with the MD there, just to try and let the sloping of his front armor do the angling work for him. This ST1 hasn't really got much of a chance, considering he's got over 50% of his hit points. Almost 2/3 there, and that ST1's pretty much dead, so this will just be a case of just roll up on him as quickly as possible and put a shot through his face to take him out. But yeah, you tend to find that these tier 10 games tend to be a lot slower in pace, and that's not just because people don't want to get taken out without doing any damage because of the repair costs, but being a tier 10 tank, you are pretty much expected to do well by your team. Ooh, gets a shot there from the Object 261. You are expected by your team to be able to make a big contribution being in a tier 10 tank. So you really kind of have to live up to that and not just go ahead and suicide yourself without getting anything in return. So the enemy just got one artillery piece left. Going to be camped over on that far right hand flank in the north there. There's not really going to be much he can do against the 5 tanks of the Allies here, so we're just going to speed this one up until it plays out to its conclusion. MD just going to see if he can try and get a little shot on the rear of him here as that Fock tries to push him and get him to go around the corner. If he can manage to get him, if he can sort of push him around that corner, then it means that the Allies are going to be able to get hits on him. But it looks like he's playing pretty smart at the moment, just sticking behind that building. Had a little shot there just in case he was about to poke his head out, but it looks like that IS-7 is just going to go around the corner and put him out of his misery. So absolutely awesome replay there from MDVN, putting in a fantastic showing in the T110E5 Tier 10 American heavy tank there. So thank you very much for sending that replay in. Stick around because, as always, there's another one coming right up. And our next clip is from the user Lauren Rien. That's Lauren Rien, and he's driving the Leopard Prototype A on a standard battle on the cliff. And the Leopard Prototype A is the Tier 9 medium tank for the Germans. It's not a tank that you see driven very often on any of the live servers, and that's probably because it's either an under-regarded tank, it's underrated, people don't realise how good it can be, or maybe people just haven't had the time to make the grind all the way up to unlock this tank yet, obviously with it being a Tier 9. Either way, whatever the reason, we're about to see how good this tank can be when it's in the hands of a skilled tanker. You may remember that we've had a couple of replay from this guy before, and he is a pretty good tanker and pretty experienced. So we're going to see what this tank's capable of in a good player's hands. So just executing the plan for a fast medium tank, which is heading to this central area on the cliff and just going to be covering off this region here, as he doesn't want anybody coming to this area here and firing down on his allies, as that can spell disaster for them. The rest of the team is setting up in standard areas as well. You've got tank destroyers and heavy tanks guarding off this left hand flank. You've got other heavy tanks pushing up that far right hand flank, and a few more covering off the middle. And this one's obviously going to be a little bit more of a slow-paced game rather than just a straight-up meat grinder. Obviously not as slow-paced as a Tier 10 game, but still pretty slow and pretty careful. People don't want to get caught short. Has a shot at that IS-3 there, not quite able to do any damage, but takes some in return. Just going to have to be a little bit more careful about that one, especially when he gets spotted out. That artillery's going to have a field day trying to catch him out here. So just making a slight retreat. That Tiger 2's taking a right pounding. Not sure who that is from. So not really feeling confident about pushing around the side of that cliff there. Probably because he doesn't really have the support of his allies. So he's just going to come at them from this angle instead. And to be honest, he's not really needing to pull off a flank like that. Just holding the enemy in this central area will do. Going to try and pick out somebody to get some damage on, but everybody's doing a pretty fine job of staying hidden behind those rocks. And even when they're not, then the armor of the tank is doing its job of keeping them well protected. A couple of IS-3s just going to kind of sit on that high ground there, defended by the rocks and the shape of the land, and they're going to fire down. In fact, 3 IS-3s. So a little bit of a formidable formation there of 3 IS-3s. Tiger 2 getting himself taken out there. So they're not really going to be able to do much against those 3 IS-3s there, so just deciding to drop back down this hill here and just relocate. Actually, that was some very good awareness there. I didn't even realise that a 4th IS-3 had actually pushed around behind him around that cliff there. So that's why he decided to make a run for it. So some excellent play there from Laurent Rien, just being aware of what's going on the minimap at all times, and when he's about to get flanked and about to get screwed. So that's really what makes the difference between a good player and a great player, is just being aware of what's going on around you at all times. A little bit of a shame he's not able to get any damage on that IS-3, but he is able to take out his tracks and put a stop to his marauding. He's going to wait for his gun to reload and see if he can, there we go, finally get some damage on him. But it looks like the enemy has absolutely overrun them in all positions now, pushing through freely on that far right-hand flank, and all the IS-3s coming through that centre there. So it looks like all they've really got is those guys on the far left-hand flank, but they're kind of huddled in the outcropping there. So Laurent just going to be dropping back and trying to defend off the base here as those guys just come around from the right-hand flank. Gonna have to play it extra careful here, but he's got an Object 704 to come in and offer some support. Gets his own track taken out now, so he's going to have to play this one careful. Nicely able to take out that Conqueror there for actually his first kill of the match. And he's going to try and offer some support to the Object 704 here. The Object 704 doing the smart thing of just knowing that his allies should have his back there and not trying to turn fight with that IS-3 there, because that's something that he would definitely have lost. So was just concentrating on keeping his gun on target on that VK45 that was further north here, and letting Laurent just take out the IS-3. So the enemy's just got the allies in an absolute pincer movement on that far left-hand flank there, just surrounded them. I'm going to try and take them out without any answer in return. Did spot out this, is that a Centurion Mark 1? It is indeed a Centurion Mark 1 on the top of this cliff here. But it looks like the Centurion's just dropped down off the hill here. I'm going to be trying to take out that Object 704, and that's the second time that he's been able to save him there, so doing a good job of keeping that tank destroyer alive. And that's definitely going to be something you're going to want to do, is keep that tank destroyer alive, because the size of the Object 704's cannon means that he can put out excellent damage. So having that gun on the field is definitely worthwhile. So this game's actually looking a lot more even than it seems, at only 11 kills to 10, only 1 kill between them, but the enemy just seems like they've got this one all sewn up for some reason. But then if you look at the kill scores, the guys that are all left alive on the allied team are the guys that have all the kills, so they're the experienced ones, the ones who seem to know what they are doing. So just going to let them push on down that flank there. They had an Object 704, but it looks like he got spotted and taken out by a Tiger II from somewhere. But Laurent going to be doing the smart thing of trying to flank around behind these. They're probably IS-3s. In fact, no, it's a Tiger II. And a 110, which is now dead. So making a good flanking move here, coming at the enemy from the rear while they're focused on trying to take out the allied artillery, because it's just the artillery and Laurent left here, so he's got to be a little bit more careful. This Tiger II looks like he's not aware that he's in this position, so he's going to be taking his time, aiming on the target, waiting for his gun to reload, and then able to take him out. So it's scores all even now at 12 to 12. It looks like they've got 2 artillery apiece, and that Low for the Leopard prototype 8. Looks like the Low's making a charge now against the Leopard, and he's been spotted out, so he's got to be careful that the enemy artillery isn't going to land. Gets a good hit through the front plate there and actually manages to set the Low on fire, but luckily for the Low, he spent the 3,000 credits on picking up a fire extinguisher, and he's able to not die. He's been ammo racked now, so it's going to be a long time between reloads, and he's already used that repair kit probably to fix his tracks from earlier. But one more shot should be able to take out that Low, and it looks like the Low knows it, but he sees the GW Tiger P coming at him from the rear. Going to use this rock as cover to try and approach the low and keep his attention focused on him, hopefully while that Tiger, the GW Tiger P, the artillery piece, finds a shot, but no, just decides, sod this, I'm just going to go for it, and he's able to take him out and pick up his 7th kill. So now it's going to be a case of hunt down the enemy artillery, and to be honest, Lauren doesn't really need to go for the kill, he just needs to highlight them and hope that that GW Tiger P is able to pick them off as and when he finds them. Being pretty high tiered artillery, you may not have the damage in this cannon to be able to take them out with one shot, but it looks like the Tiger P's run headlong into one of those guys. And it looks like the GW Panther was able to take him out, so it's going to be himself versus 2 artillery here. This one going to have to play it very carefully. Now, normally when you've got a medium or heavy tank left against 2 artillery, it's a pretty much a foregone conclusion that you can just maraude around, find them, and then wipe them out. But with only 45 hit points, I'm pretty sure that these artillery could probably even ram him to death with only 45 hit points. In fact, using the high explosive shells, they don't even need to get hits, they just have to land a hit pretty close to them, and that would spell disaster and a loss in this battle. Looks like they're both making a beeline to the base there to try and get a capture off. He's able to get a shot through the side there, and he's going to have to move now, although he's not been spotted, so he's going to be able to relocate now and probably have another shot, sniper style. But like we said earlier, his ammo rack has been taken out, so it's going to be a while until he can reload that cannon, and he's just going to come cheekily back up to the same spot that he came up to before. Let's see if he can spot them out. There we go, finds the GW Panther. Oh, he's able to get him in one shot there, which was a nice piece of work. And it's just that GW Tiger left alive somewhere around the base there. And he's going to have to play this one very careful, because again, he's still only got 45 hit points left. So he's just going to relocate himself to a completely different part of the battlefield and see if he can come at him there. You can see the GW Tiger has no idea where he is. Gets himself taken out. So absolutely awesome replay there from Lauren Rien, showing the power of the Leopard prototype A when it's in the hands of a skilled tanker. So awesome replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Stick around, because as always, there's another one coming right up. And our next replay is from the user Kampfzestora. That's Kampfzestora, and he's driving the KV-13. Yep, the KV-13 on an encounter battle on the Sand River. And the KV-13's not a very often seen tank. It's very seldom driven and very seldom seen in any battles. That's probably just because it's a little bit awkward to get to. You've got to kind of go through the KV-1S, and then the little offshoot is the KV-13. It doesn't really come from anywhere, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And you have to grind out something like 40-odd thousand XP on the KV-1S just to be able to unlock this thing. So it's a little bit of a sort of, it suffers from the middle child syndrome, that it doesn't really get used very often, doesn't really get seen very often. Just because, one, it's quite awkward to get to, two, people don't really know how to play it very well. Obviously people don't really know how to play it very well because it's hardly ever used, as it kind of just sits there on the tech tree on its own little arm there. So anyway, back to the game at hand. He's going to be heading off along this very southern area where the Bin encounter battle just wants to get some eyes on the cap zone as quickly as possible. Being a medium tank, this thing does still have a half decent speed. As you can see there, it's up to 50 kilometers an hour. even on the sand, which is soft terrain. So just going to be trying to keep an eye on anybody who's going to be coming for an early cap here, and anybody who tries to set themselves up on those dunes on the far left hand flank there, because the enemy does like to push down that area and then win out in the dunes, and then they can just push on into the cap zone and try and get a sneaky win. So it's always good to get a decently fast tank in this area just to keep an eye on what's going on. As you can see, just keeping his reticule firmly fixed on the dunes up there in case anybody does come over the top. Just going to speed it up a little bit until we actually get into some action, as this one's a little bit slow. A little bit slow to start. KV-1S comes up to support there, and they've got the cap zone covered now. Looks like he's going to be making a rush for that one, so our man here is just going to be coming around the sand dunes to try and pick off anybody from the side. Because with that KV-1S going into the cap zone, the enemy would be setting up to try and get shots on them, which means they would expose their side armor to this area here. Does find a Panther, and he hasn't really got anybody in support here, so he's going to have to try and duel one-on-one with this Panther. Unfortunately, I don't think the Panther realises how formidable the KV-13 can be in a one-on-one situation. Obviously, being of the KV series, it's pretty well armoured and pretty difficult to damage, and being a Russian tank, it has a pretty powerful cannon. As you can see, he's just putting shot after shot through the front plate of that Panther. That Panther's not really having any luck getting any damage in return, and there we go. Kampfzerstörer picks up his first kill in a one-on-one duel against that Panther, who had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. That's just probably ruined his day there. So now that that's dealt with, he's just going to be heading around further to the north along this far left hand flank. And again, like I said, because the Allies have taken up residence in that cap zone, the enemy's going to be set up on these sand dunes pointed down towards the cap zone, which means he's going to have shots on the side and the rear armour all day long. Finds this SU-100, obviously realised what was going on and decided to try and make a run for it. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be able to get away, but Cam's probably going to take some damage for his trouble in an attempt to take him out. And there we go. Manages to pick that one up and then comes in to try and take out this KV-1S. Looks like the KV-1S doesn't have the super derp cannon, just has the other derp cannon, that little stubby one. Just going to have to play it careful though, because that thing can do a decent amount of damage. It just has really crappy penetration, but it has a ridiculously long reload time, and as you can see, one of the other KV-1S's just able to take him out. So the Allies have still got a few tanks in and around that cap zone there, so just going to have to try and play it smart, try and keep the enemy away. The scores are pretty even, well, not pretty even, they are exactly even at 8 kills to 8 at the moment. Probably not going to be able to get a base capture off here, as that very seldom happens in these battles, especially with only one tank in that cap zone. So he's going to be using this opportunity with nobody on this flank to come around and try and find the enemy's artillery, which is normally camped around this location here. Because there's nobody else defending this flank, he can come up and freely have a look, and there he is there. Spots out the enemy's artillery, and he's not even going to resist, just going to let himself be destroyed because there's nothing he can do about it. And that's Kampfzerstörer picking up his third kill now of the match in this KV-13. So doing an excellent job here in this very seldom used medium tank. So it looks like they've got this one pretty much done here, as they're winning 12 kills to 9, but it looks like the enemy's pushing a couple of heavy tanks on this far right hand flank here, so they may indeed lose their artillery at this point, and possibly even their other heavy tank, which is probably that M6 there. An M6 isn't really a match for an IS and a Tiger. Although it's not the Tiger that's in there, it's the IS and the KV-1S. Just having a quick shot there towards that rock to see if he can, by some stroke of luck, hit that tiger. It's always worth it having those shots if you're not needed in any other pressing circumstances, because you may just get lucky and you may just hit them. Going to try see if he can pick out a tiny bit of his turret there, but no, that shot just landing on the rocks. It was a bit of an audacious shot there, just having another one just in case. But not quite able to pick out his target there. The enemy's done a good job of evening up the score here at 12-12. But this tiger's pretty much out in the open now, and he's able to get a good hit through the top of his turret there. Going to have one more shot. Again, just in case he's able to pick him up, but not quite able to do that. So now he's got to make his mind up whether he goes around, all the way around for this tiger, or whether he moves into the cap zone to support his ally. To be honest, probably just wait for this tiger to poke himself out like that, and then wipe him out. So that's 4 kills so far in the KV-13, doing a fantastic job here in this difficult to use medium tank. So the enemy just has this one KV-1S left somewhere on the field, not quite sure where he is. Actually, there he is there, trying to get a last kill on the artillery. To be honest, with the cap at pretty much 85%, it's probably best for them just to sit here and finish the cap rather than risk going up against a KV-1S, as he'd probably be able to take each of them out with one shot. So a little bit too risky there, so just going to sit in the cap zone, let this one finish, and pick up the victory, because at the end of the day, the victory is more important than looking good. So, awesome replay there from Kampfzerstörer, driving the KV-13, a tank that I know I haven't seen very often, and I'm pretty sure you guys won't have either. So, thanks very much for watching. Stick around, because there is another one coming right up. And our final replay of the day is from the user Verminator. That's Verminator, and he's driving the IS-3 on a standard battle on Prokhorovka. IS-3 being the tier 8 heavy tank for the Russians. And I remember grinding my way to this tank and being very, very impressed with it. It was probably my favourite heavy tank for the Russians. And that was back in the day when the tech tree... Oh, silly T-50-2. What are you doing? Yeah, you got what you deserved. Pushing way too far forward, way too quickly. Anyway, so I remember this being... it was back in the day when this went IS-3, then to the IS-4, then to the IS-7, back when the IS-4 was a tier 9, not a tier 10, and back before the ST-1 was added. So I remember grinding out this tank, getting hold of it, and being very impressed with it. Normally when you get a new tank in World of Tanks, every tank seems overpowered in World of Tanks until you buy one, and that's normally the way it feels. You buy a tank and you think, well, this is actually a little bit crap. But to be honest, never had that with the IS-3. This thing was just awesome from start to finish. One thing you do need to get out of practice with doing with the IS-3 is angling your front armor in the way that you would with a German tank. If you take a look at that front plate there, it is already angled from either side. So the best thing to do is just leave your tank pointed directly at the enemy, and let the sloping of the armor itself do the work for you. So the Allied team here going with a good strategy of just deciding to push all three flanks at the same time, pushing the left-hand flank up that road, pushing the right-hand flank up the hill, and pushing quite a few tanks up the centre here. Not sure why that T-34-85 is showing his rear armour, but that's probably just because he has such small armour it doesn't really matter which one he presents. See if we can get a good shot through the command hatch of this Tiger II here. Indeed he can, and again, the armour of this IS-3 just doing good work there, bouncing those shots. It's always a little bit of a shame having to waste a whole shell just to take out less than 100 hit points on an enemy tank there, but Verminator able to pick up his second kill now. The Allies still doing a good job of pushing all three flanks, although it looks like they're getting a little bit stalled on that left-hand side there, with the enemy just being a little bit more successful at the defence. I don't really see teams pushing up the centre this heavily normally. Usually what happens is a team will pick either the right or left flank or split between both and then push those. They'll normally have the left hand flank there, they'll have some defence, they'll try and push through this town like the enemy team is doing here, but it looks like the Allied team just thought to themselves, nope, we're not going to have any of that, we're just going to push directly through the centre here and try and catch the enemy off guard, which is exactly what's happened here. Finds a Jagdpanther, not quite able to take him out before he fades back into the fog of war there, so we'll never know if he was able to hit him. An M6 from earlier has been spotted out here, and he's not really able to do anything, and he's gonna, looks like he's just gonna turn tail and try and run away, but to be honest he's probably going to have been best off trying to reverse, even though his front armour is going to pose no less of a threat than his rear armour would. As you can see, he's just turned tail, running away, and he gets himself taken out. So Verminator just going to try and get down into the valley now, because there's quite a lot of enemy tanks on this left-hand flank along that road there, because they've been able to defend and hold off the Allied push. So he's just going to put himself in this valley. As you can see, this little raised bit in the terrain here will defend him nicely from any fire that comes from that angle. Finds a 3601. It's not really going to be much of 3601 is going to be able to do against an IS-3. Just again making sure that he can't be seen on this left hand side, just being aware of the minimap and seeing that somebody was indeed pushing in this 3001D. A little bit unlucky there to fire a shot straight over his turret, and he's just going to have to be careful and try and keep his front armour on target here. Not sure why the guy decided to ram him there. Gets himself taken out for his trouble. So the Allies have done a good job of pushing directly over that hill there. Looks like the enemy committed too many forces to the defence of this left-hand flank and not enough forces to the attack of the right-hand flank. And that's going to probably prove detrimental for them. Just when I was saying that he was nicely situationally aware of tanks sneaking up on him, this 3001 was able to get in and do a little bit of damage to this IS-3, being a little bit more brave than clever here, because there's not really much he's going to be able to do against an IS-3 from the front, and he's not able to keep himself on the side or rear armour successfully, so just gets himself wiped out. Jagdpanther going to see if he has better luck. As you can see, the tracks on the IS-3 just doing some good work there of soaking up a lot of damage, because the tracks are so large. They are able just to get the enemy just get 0 damage criticals all day long. And you can always tell when a tank has been in the thick of the action when they run out of ammunition. And this last shot on this Tiger here is going to spell the end of his standard ammunition, using every single one of those rounds, and I'm pretty sure we're doing damage with almost all of them. So switching out to premium shells here, just going to pound that ARL-44 in the face as his allies sweep in from that right hand flank in an attempt to try and get the base capture done. Just waiting for his allies to come in here, and he's able to take out that ARL-44, picking up 8 kills now. Let's see if he can wipe out this T-29. T-29 doing trying to keep himself hull down there, but it looks like that Tiger's just come right over the hill and going to be able to get some damage on him. with the extra penetration from the premium shells here, he may actually be able to get a shot through the turret of the T-29, which is legendarily thick. Although it looks like he's just going to be able to get a shot on this side armor, and picking up 9 kills. An absolute monster battle there from Verminator in the IS-3. I would highly recommend everybody to go ahead and buy an IS-3 right now and trick that thing out, because it is as good as it looks. So brilliant replay there from Verminator. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Thank you to you guys for watching. Remember, if you've got yourself a good replay from World of Tanks, just send that in to replay@screenreality.com. That is replay@screenreality.com. I do look at all replays that get sent in, and I'll do my best to turn as many of those into awesome videos as I can. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will catch you next time.